بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue in our lesson in the Kitab of Umdatusaalik. We pray that Allah bless our studies and bless in our lesson and open for us the doors of understanding and practice of what we have learned. May Allah increase us in guidance uh, and bless us anyway, goodness in dunya and akhirah. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. We will continue from where we stopped in our last lesson. We have entered into the chapter on wiping on the footgear. Babu Masḥ al-Khuffayn. And the last thing we mentioned is pertaining to the part where the author mentioned walau ajnaba fil muddati wajaba an-naz'u lil ghusli walau ajnaba fil mudda. Yani if a person enters into a state of janābah, when a person enters into a state of janābah, the state of janābah can be if a husband, for example, he has sexual intercourse with the wife. So when there is a penetration, then both of them will be in a state of janābah. Likewise, when a person ejaculates sperm, whether a man or a woman, he and she will be in a state of janābah. So when a person is in a state of janābah, he has to bathe the obligatory bath. He has to bathe the obligatory bath. So here the author mentioned if a person is wearing his khuf and then he enters into a state of janābah. So what happens is the khuf will be invalidated. The khuf will be invalidated. Now it is compulsory upon him to remove the khuf when he wants to do the obligatory bath. So with regard to obligatory bath, he cannot wipe on his footgear. So he has to remove the footgear. Then he bathe the obligatory bath. Because he mentioned that this will invalidate the period of the khuf. Regardless whether a person is muqim, as what we mentioned last week, muqim 24 hours. Yani if a person in this country, musafir is 72 hours. So this is the meaning of muddah here. The author mentioned walau ajnaba fil muddati, yani when a person is within the time span where it is permissible for him to wipe on the khuf, but he enters into the state of janābah, wajaba an-naz'u lil ghusli, then it is compulsory upon him to remove the khuf when he wants to perform the obligatory bath. So with regard to wiping of the khuf, it is only valid for ablution, not valid for obligatory bath. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. Then he mentioned washartuhu, the conditions of wiping of the khuf. Number one, he said ayalbasahu ala wuḍūʻin kāmilin, that the person must take any ablution completely. A person must take any ablution completely. Meaning if you have not taken any ablution completely, your wiping of the khuf is not valid. So for example, the person wash his face, wash his hands, wipe the head, but he did not wash his feet, and then he puts on the khuf. Now this is not permissible. This is not valid. Another situation, a person wash his face, wash his hands, wipe his head, and wash the right leg, for example. Wash the right leg only, and then he puts on the khuf. This is also not permissible, and it is not valid. So what is the completion of wudu here? Meaning a person perform the wudu completely, washing of both of the feet. Then only the khuf is valid. Then number two, he mentioned wa yakuna tahiran, the khuf must be pure. It cannot be made from skin of animals that are not pure. For example, the skin of the dog. The skin, anything that comes from the dog, is a major filth in our Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī. Likewise, in the skin of the dog. If a person takes any dog skin and make it into a khuf, then it is not permissible for him to wear it. Likewise, with regard to the skin of the swine, it is not permissible. And likewise, the skin of animals that cannot be eaten or dead in the carcasses, that the skin has not any gone through the process of tannery. If the skin has not gone through the process of tannery, it is regarded as a filth, and it cannot be used as a khuf. So he mentioned وأن يكون طاهرا ساترا لجميع محل فرضه. The khuf must cover completely the ankles and above the ankles. The ankles and above the ankles. So if a person wears the khuf that is below the ankles, it is not permissible. It is not permissible to be classified as a khuf. It must be above the ankles and it must cover completely. It must cover completely. If it doesn't cover the feet completely, then it is not any permissible. Number 4, he mentioned mani'an li nufuzil ma. Mani'an li nufuzil ma. It must be what we call it, waterproof. It must be waterproof. So that is why normal socks cannot be used as khuf, even though it is thick. Certain types of sock is thick, but it is not waterproof, regardless whether the water reaches the feet or the water does not reach the feet. So in the Madhhab of Imam Shāfiʿī, that it must be water resistant. It must be water resistant. It must cover all the way up to the ankles. It must be waterproof. Otherwise, it cannot be used as khuf. That is why we say that normal socks cannot be used as khuf. Number 5, وَيُمْكِنُ مُتَابَعَةُ الْمَشْيِ عَلَيْهِمَا. That we can walk with the khuf. Yani you can walk, meaning it has to be durable in a way that it must be strong enough that you can walk with it. But if you cannot walk with it, meaning the material is something that is light, then it is not permissible to be used as khuf. So that is why we cannot use any plastic bags as our khuf. We cannot use thin materials that is not designed for walking. This cannot be validated to be used as khuf. So he said kataraddudi musafirin li hajatihi. So the author gave this example, if a traveler he wants to take he wants to go find some of his needs. So if he wears this particular khuf, he is able to go and find his needs and come back. A traveler is able to walk from one place to another place. So it shows that this footgear must be something that is durable and something that is strong. In a way it can resist the conditions of walking. Sawa'un kana min jildin aw libdin aw kharikin mutabbaqatin. So regardless whether it is made of skin or it is made of wool that is compressed. It is made of wool that is compressed. There is certain type of wool that when you compress it, then it becomes waterproof and it becomes hard. It becomes hard like nylon, something like polyester. But it is waterproof. It is waterproof. So it is permissible. In the Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī, we can use regardless whether it is made of leather or it is made other than leather. So nowadays, when people ask about boots, for example, army boots, some people ask about sneakers. The type of shoes that some people wear, sneakers where it covers all the way up to the ankles. Is it permissible for me to wipe while wearing sneakers? Yes. But normal shoes that we are wearing that doesn't cover up to the ankles, it is not permissible to be used as khuf. So we have to look at the type of shoes, and we have to look at the durability. Whether it can withstand or cannot, or it cannot withstand. So that is why normal socks cannot be used as khuf. Not only it is not waterproof, but it is also not durable to be used as khuf. Or he said it is made of multiple layered khuf. For example, we have any leather that is torn, but then we make it into we put any glue for example, and then we make it into a khuf, a shoe. It is any permissible, even though there is a thorn, there is a thorn in the leather, but it is patched. As long as water cannot penetrate. This is the thing, water cannot penetrate. Aw khashabin, or wood. Imagine a person make any shoe out of make the shoe out of wood. Can this particular person use it as a khuf? Yes, it is permissible to be used as a khuf, because all these conditions are there. Or غير ذلك, or other than these materials. Nowadays we have complex materials. We have rubber, for example. We have any certain type of fabric that is mixed with nylon, or mixed with wool, that is used for the shoes that we are wearing today. Shoes that is made of leather. So there are many types of materials that are used for the shoes today. أو مشقوقا أو مشقوقا شد بشرج, or the khuf that is torn, but it is patched. It is patched. This is also permissible as what we mentioned, regardless whether it is made of leather or other than leather. فلو لبس خفا في رجل ليمسحه ويغسل الأخرى, أو ظهر من الرجل شيء وإن قل من خرق في الخف لم يجوز. The author mentioned if a person wears the khuf in one leg, and he wipes the khuf, and then he wash the other. He wash the other. Is it any permissible or not permissible? This is not any permissible. That's what we mentioned, that when a person, first thing is that when he wants to wear the khuf, he must take the ablution completely. He must take the ablution completely. So once the ablution is complete, then he wears the khuf. And once he wears the khuf, it is not any permissible for him to remove the khuf. So once you remove the khuf, now you have to wash your feet. But this is an example, the author mentioned he removed one of the khuf. He only removed one of the khuf. So when he removed one of the khuf, now the validity of the khuf is not there. So regardless whether you wash one of your feet and you wipe the other that is still the khuf is on, this is not valid. So once I remove one of the khuf, it becomes invalid. The validity of the khuf is present. So that is why I cannot remove the khuf as long as I am wearing them. If I remove any one of the khuf, the validity ceases. So that is why here the author mentioned it is not valid. And in a situation where a person only remove one of his feet, but he says that okay, I will wipe on my right, but I will wash on my left. This is not valid. Once you remove one, you have to remove both. So both of the feet you have to wash. You cannot wipe on one of the feet. So this is the first example. Then he mentioned أو ظهر من الرجل شيء وإن قل من خرق. If the khuf is torn and part of the skin can be seen, even though it is something that is slight, this is not permissible. It cannot be used as a khuf. It cannot be used as a khuf if it is torn. Even though the torn is a light one, but you can see the skin color. If you can see the skin color of your feet, then it is not permissible to wipe on the khuf. So here the author mentioned lam yajuz, it is not permissible. It is not permissible to wipe on the khuf. So here what is important is that we have to wear the khuf that is not torn. If it is torn, it is not permissible. But if it is patch, as what we mentioned before this, if it is patch, whether it's patch of leather or other than leather, it is permissible as long as the conditions any of the khuf any are there, that it is waterproof, that is resistant, that it is durable, that you can use it any for walking, it doesn't peel off any easily, then it is permissible. And then any the author any goes on any to speak any about what is known any in the Arabic language as jurmuq. So the jurmuq is khufun fawqa khuf. Yani it is khuf on top any khuf. So imagine any I wear 2 layers of khuf. 2 layers of khuf. This is called jurmuq in the Arabic language, and we call it what? We call it jurmuq. Yani especially like in cold countries, like in Russia, certain parts in of the Siberia, it is not enough you need to wear one khuf because any of the coldness. Sometimes any people, wallahu alam, any they can wear up to 3 layer of khuf, 4 layer any of khuf, and then any on top of that they wear the shoe. So this kind any of khuf, yani if you have a few layers, this is called jurmuq. So now in the question any we ask any if I am wearing 2 layers any of khuf, which one do I wipe? Do I wipe any the khuf below or the khuf on top? Do I wipe any the khuf any below or I wipe any the khuf any on top? So can we see any now where the author any is going? So now any we have 2 khuf now. So if you are wearing any 2 khuf, which one do you wipe? Now any you want to wipe any on your khuf. Both any are valid any as khuf. They are waterproof, durable, no torn, but there are 2 of them. One is below, the other one is on top. So which one do I wipe? Do I wipe any the one that is below, or do I wipe any the one that is on top? So this is where any the author any mentioned. So he said, فَإِنْ كَانَ الْأَعْلَى قَوِيًّا وَالْأَسْفَلُ مُخَرَّقًا فَلَهُ الْمَسْحُ الْأَعْلَى. So the situation number 1, and if the one that is below is torn, there is a hole. The one that is on top is perfect. Now it is wajib any to wipe any on top and not the one below, because the one below is not valid to be used any as a khuf because it is torn. So which one do I wipe? I wipe any on top, and this is wajib. Yani it is not permissible any if I wipe the khuf any below. So this is the first situation. وَإِنْ كَانَ قَوِيَّيْنِ. But if both of them any are strong, yani durable, both any are durable. Yani durable here meaning what? Meaning I can walk on it. I can walk with it. أَوِ الْقَوِيُّ الْأَسْفَلِ لَمْ يَكْفِي مَسْحُ الْأَعْلَى. So now any the situation any is either yani we say both any are strong, both any of the khuf any are strong, or the one that is below any is the one any that is strong and durable, but the one any on top any cannot be used any as a khuf. So which one any do I wipe? So in this any particular the second situation any is that the one that is below any is the one that is below any is what do you call it? وَإِنْ كَانَ قَوِيَّيْنِ أَوِ الْقَوِيُّ الْأَسْفَلِ. One more time. Now any a person any wears any double layer khuf, and both are strong. Both any are strong. Or the one that is below any is strong, but the one on top any is not. So now any the author any is saying it is not any enough that we wipe any the one that is on top. Meaning it is wajib any that I wipe any below. Why? Because any below any follows any the conditions. Whereas any the khuf any that is on top does not meet the condition. There is a torn any, for example, or it is not any durable, the one that is on top. So can I wipe any the one that is on top? I cannot wipe. It is compulsory upon me any to wipe any the one that is below. So I hope any it is clear. So situation in number 1 is that the one that is on top any is strong. The one that is below any is not is torn. So it is wajib upon me to wipe the one that is on top. The second situation opposite, opposite. The one that is below is strong. The one that is on top any is torn. So which one do I wipe? I wipe the one that is below. And is it wajib? Yes, and it is wajib. And what happens if I wipe any the one that is on top? It is not valid. Because why? The conditions any khuf any are not met with the ones that is on top. Right. Then he mentioned, فإن وصل البلل منه إلى الأسفل كفى. Yani if I want to wipe the one that is below, I want to wipe the one that is below. How do I wipe? The author mentioned here minimum is that I make sure that wetness reach the khuf that is below. Meaning it is not wajib upon me to put my hands underneath, in between the two khuf all the way. It is not any wajib. What is any wajib is that I make sure that the wetness that comes from on top reaches the part of wiping of the khuf that is below. Once the wetness reach, then it is permissible. فإن وصل البلل منه إلى الأسفل كفى سواء قصد مسحهما أو الأسفل فقط أو أطلق لا إن قصد الأعلى فقط. Yani the author mentioned, yani if a person, for example, he wipes the khuf below, he wipes the khuf below, and he makes sure that the wetness reaches the feet below. So we say that this is valid. This is valid. Even though he makes the intention to wipe the one below, or he does not make the intention. So for example, he's wearing the two khuf. So the one below is strong. The one on top is torn. So the wajib he wipes the one that is below. But when he wipes the one that is on top, and the water enters from the hole of the khuf that is on top and reaches the khuf that is below, it is valid. It is valid. Yani, if he makes the intention, if he makes the intention together, meaning he makes the intention to wipe the one that is on top and the one that is below. The one that is on top and the one that is below. So this is the first situation. Qasada masahuma. Yani he makes the intention to wipe that is on top, the one that is on top, and the one that is below. So which one is the one that is valid? The one that is below. Because the one that is below is the one that is valid and to be wiped. But if he makes the intention of wiping the below only, or he doesn't make any intention, it is also valid. So the second situation, he makes the intention to wipe the khuf that is below. This one, no problem. Because the one that is below is valid. Situation number 3, he doesn't make any intention. He just make the intention of wiping the khuf. And he wipes the one that is below. Or the wetness reaches the one that is below. As what we mentioned earlier. He wipes on top and the wetness enters through the hole of the khuf on top. And it reaches the khuf that is below. That is also valid. But there is one situation that will not make it valid if he only makes the intention to wipe the one that is on top. If he makes the intention to wipe the one that is on top, this is not valid because the one is on top is torn. So he makes the intention of wiping the one that is on top. Now this is not valid. So there is a difference. If a person makes the intention to wipe both, valid. If the person makes the intention to wipe the one that is below, valid. But if the person makes the intention to wipe the one that is on top only, then it is not valid. So I hope it is clear, inshallah ta'ala. All this is in the situation where the one that is below is strong and durable and can be used as khuf, whereas the one that is on top is torn. So that is why if he makes the intention to wipe on the khuf that is on top only, it is not valid because the one that is on top does not meet the requirements of the khuf. So I hope it is clear, inshallah ta'ala. Hopefully we can finish this chapter today. Because next week, inshallah, we enter into al-Kalam next week. Our new book, inshallah. وَيُسَنُّ مَسْحُ عَلَى الْخُفِّ وَأَسْفَلِهِ. Then the author mentioned it is a sunnah to wipe both on top and below of the khuf. It is a sunnah to wipe the khuf that is on top and the one that is on top and below. And this is how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he wipes the khuf. There is a saying by Al-Imam Hasan al-Basri, min as-sunnati yamsaha ala al-khuffi khututan. So so many of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in, they narrated how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wipe on his khuf. So in the Arabic language, it is known as khututan. So they say, وَيُسَنُّ مَسْحُ عَلَى الْخُفِّ وَأَسْفَلِهِ وَعَقِبِهِ خُطُوطًا بِلَا اسْتِعَابٍ وَلَا تَكْرَارٍ. So now, imagine this is my feet. Okay? It is a sunnah to wipe on top and below. So below is my sole. Correct, no? This is my sole. So the sunnah is to wipe both on top and below. But the wajib is on top, not below. The wajib. Where is the wajib? You need to wipe on the khuf, this part. Any part I wipe is valid. Any part on top here is valid. But the sunnah is I wipe both. One, the one that is on top of my feet and my sole. And it is a sunnah I need to wipe khututan. Khututan is like this. I go from my toes, I go up like this. This is the meaning of khututan. Clear, inshallah? This is khutut. So not wiping like this. See, can you see the difference? This is usually we wipe like this, correct? No? This is not any khututan. Khututan meaning you open up like this, and you go from your toes all the way up. So meaning you, of course, you wet your hand first, right? You wet your hands and then you go from your toes all the way up. At the same time, below your feet, also you use your left. You use your left, and you do khututan from here, from your aqib, from your behind your feet here. You go from behind all the way to the front. And this is also khutut. So when you do it together, it's something it looks like this, like the one on top goes up and the one below goes like this. Correct, no? So you do it together. This is how it is done. So the author mentioned وَيُسَنُّ مَسْحُ عَلَى الْخُفِّ وَأَسْفَلِهِ وَعَقِبِهِ خُطُوطًا بِلَا اسْتِعَابٍ. Isti'ab, you don't do this. This is isti'ab. You wipe the whole feet like this. This is not sunnah. This is not like this, but it is like this. You do khutut. So it is not encompassing. This is why the author mentioned. Wala takrar. It is not a sunnah to repeat 3 times. So with regard to wiping of the khuf, it is only one time. Remember, it is only one time. The sunnah is only one time. Then he mentioned فَيَضَعُ يَدَهُ الْيُسْرَى. So now he explained how you do it. يَدَعُ يَدَهُ الْيُسْرَى تَحْتَ عَقِب. Aqib is our sole here. This part. Behind our feet. So yadul yusra here. You start from behind. Your left. Behind, go to the front. Whereas this one from the front to the back. So your right hand from the front to the back. Your left hand from the back to the front. So he said, فَيَضَعُ يَدَهُ الْيُسْرَى تَحْتَ عَقِبِهِ وَيُمْنَاهُ عِنْدَ أَصَابِعِهِ. Asabi' is the toes. So his right hand he start from the toes. وَيُمِّرُ الْيُمْنَى إِلَى السَّاقِ. So he do like this, and from the toes go up to the saq. Your saq is where? Your shin bone. Correct or not? Towards your shin bone. وَالْيُسْرَى إِلَى الْأَصَابِعِ. So the left one from behind the feet goes to the toes. So it looks something like this. Correct or not? Something like this. فإن اقتصر على مسح أقل جزء من ظاهر أعلاه محاذيا لمحل الفرض كفى. Now, when the author and he mentioned the minimum any requirement, if a person and he just and he wants any to wipe any on top any, he just any wipe any on top like this. This is valid. This is valid. Just any a slight any wipe any on top. But if a person and he wipes any below the feet, it is not valid. What is wajib any is to wipe any on top any not and not below. وَإِنِ اقْتَصَرَ عَلَى الْأَسْفَلِ, if he wipes any below, أو الْعَقِبِ, or the back part of the feet, أو الْحَرْف, harf any is the side part of the feet. A person wipe any at the sides. أو الْبَاطِن مِمَّا يَلِي الْبَشَرَ, or yani he wipes any the below yani the feet, then it is not valid. Then any it is not any valid. وَمَتَى ظَهَرَتِ الرِّجْلُ يَنْزِعُ بِنَزْعٍ, whenever yani he remove yani the khuf, or there is a thorn on the khuf. وَهُوَ بِوُضُوءِ الْمَسْحِ كَفَاهُ غُسْلُ الْقَدَمَيْنِ فَقَطْ. Okay, this last part we have to pay attention. Okay, now the example is like this. Now, I take wudu. I wash my face, I wash my hands, I wipe any my head, and I'm wearing my khuf. So what do? I wipe my khuf. Type, can I perform my prayers? Yes, I can. My wudu is valid. What happens if I remove my khuf now? After I took the ablution, I wipe on my khuf, I remove my khuf. So what happens? How do I perform my prayers? Do I have to take wudu again? All the way from the start? Meaning I have to wash my face again? Do I have to wash my hands again? Do I have to wipe my feet, my head again? The answer is no. Meaning the washing of my face is valid. The washing of my hands is valid. Wiping of my head is valid. What I have to do is only I have to wash my feet. Because now I remove the khuf. Once I remove the khuf cannot be used, to be wiped on. So if the khuf cannot be used anymore because I remove it, then I have to wash my feet because I can no longer wipe on them. So now the author is saying that even though your khuf is not valid, it doesn't mean it makes your wudu invalid. Your wudu is still valid. But you have to wash your feet because there's no more wiping on the khuf because you have removed the khuf. So I hope it is clear, inshallah ta'ala. So that is why he said, وَهُوَ بِوُضُوءِ الْمَسْحِ. You see, there is a difference between wudu al-masḥ and normal wudu. Wudu al-masḥ meaning I take any ablution and I wipe on my khuf. I did not wash my legs. But if I take ablution completely before I wear my khuf, and I wear my khuf, I make the intention of khuf, then I remove it. Then no problem, I can pray with my wudu. There is no need for me to wash my feet. Because why? Because before I wear my khuf, I have taken ablution completely. This is not wudu al-masḥ. Wudu al-masḥ meaning my wudu has been invalidated while I'm wearing the khuf, and I take wudu again and I wipe on my khuf. This is the meaning of wudu al-masḥ. If I remove my khuf at this point, then I have only need to wash my feet. No need for me to take wudu from the beginning. Wallahu alam bis-sawab. So now we have come into the chapter Babu Asbabil Hadas. Asbabul Hadas here meaning the things that invalidate wudu. What are the things that invalidate wudu? Very easy. In the Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī, just memorize 4 things. Your life will be much easier. So here he mentioned وَهِيَ أَرْبَعَةٌ. There are 4. Number 1, anything that goes out from the private parts. From the 2 private parts. Anything that comes out from the 2 private parts, it invalidates the wudu. Number 2, touching the I just give a summary first. Number 1 is anything that comes out from the 2 private parts. Number 2, loss of consciousness. Loss of consciousness make wudu invalid. Whether a person becomes insane, a person fainted, a person become coma, in a state of coma. So these are the situations that make wudu invalid. Likewise, sleeping makes wudu invalid if a person does not sit upright. All this will be explained. Number 3 is touching any of the opposite gender, skin to skin, non-mahram. This invalidate the ablution. And lastly is touching any of the private parts with bare hands, any with the open palms. Either our own private parts or the private parts of others. So this invalidate the ablution. So these are the only 4 things that invalidate ablution. So number 1, the author mentioned al-khariju. Ahaduha al-khariju min qubulin aw duburin aw saqbatin tahta surati ma'an sidadil makhrajil mu'tad. So anything that comes out from the private parts. Urine, for example, invalidates the wudu. Likewise, anything that comes from the anal, solid, liquid, or gas, all invalidate the wudu. Not only urine invalidates the wudu. Likewise, with regard to madhi and wadi. Madhi is a colorless liquid that comes out before ejaculation. So this invalidates the wudu. Likewise, wadi. And if a person lifts heavy things, so what happens? Whitish liquid comes out sometime. This is not madhi, but this is wadi. Usually it comes out when a person is too tired. When a person carry heavy things, this liquid comes out. So it is not sperm. So this invalidates the wudu. In the Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī, sperm does not invalidate the wudu. Yani if sperm comes out, it does not invalidate. It does not invalidate the wudu. This is an exceptional case. But our scholars mentioned usually before the ejaculation of sperm, madhi will come out. So the wudu is still invalidated by the coming out of the madhi, even though sperm comes out after it. The wudu is still invalidated. But if we were to say that only sperm 100% sperm comes out, it does not invalidate the ablution, and this is possible. And if a person has wet dreams, it is possible that only sperm comes out without the madhi. And then he mentioned if a person has a hole below their navel. If a person has a hole, meaning sometimes na'udzubillah min dhalik, a person, for example, is suffering from some kidney problems. So the doctor will open up an opening from below the navel, because the urine, for example, cannot come out the normal way. So the urine come out through a bag. So they will put a saqba this hole, and then they put a tube. They put the tube inside. So now the question is, if urine comes out and goes out through the tube, does it invalidate the wudu? Yes, it invalidates the wudu. So this is a case where the private parts are not functioning. The private parts are not functioning. The urine comes out through tubes. So this is not something new. Last time also doctors do this. That is why Sheikh Ibn Naqib al-Masri he lived about 700 years ago. He's speaking about this. Right? Nowadays we see in hospitals, we see sometimes people walking around carry this bag of urine. The urine comes out through the tubing. So does it invalidate the wudu? If the urine comes out, it invalidates the wudu. If the urine comes out through the tubes. So this is considered to be exiting the private parts. Yani the urine enters into the tubes. So as though it exits from the private part. It's just that the private part is not functioning now. Tamam? So it invalidates the wudu. And this is a situation if the hole is done under the navel, not above the navel. So that is why the author mentioned tahta surati ma'an sidadil makhraj, because the private parts are not functioning. Insidad, there is insidad, the waste cannot come out. So that is why a hole has to be done. So now when we ask the question, does this hole is done on top of the navel or below the navel? If it is below the navel, anything that comes out invalidates wudu. But it is on top of the navel, it does not invalidate the wudu. Then he mentioned aynan or rihan, whether it is solid or gas, rih. mu'tadan aw nadiran, whether it is something that is normal or not normal. Normal meaning like urine, uh, what do you call it? This is considered to be normal waste. But not normal any, for example, a person, he swallowed any a coin. A person swallowed a coin and then came out yani from his anal. So although any this coin is something that is pure, it invalidates any the wudu. Meaning, for example, if this person has wudu and he unintentionally swallowed any a coin or rock, or a piece of metal, for example, and then after that it comes out through the openings. The question is, does the wudu becomes invalid or not invalid? Now, what is the thing that comes out? What the thing that comes out is something that is nadir. This is called nadir. Nadir meaning normally any people don't swallow all these things, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. But if it happens, does it invalidate the wudu? Yes, it invalidates any the wudu. So not necessarily any waste, human waste, any that comes out invalidated wudu. Even pure things that comes out any from the private parts can invalidate the wudu. Then he gave an example, kadudatin wa hasatin, like the worm. Yani the worm comes out any from the anal. The worm comes out any from the anal. This invalidates the wudu. This invalidates the wudu because this is considered to be a secondary object. Likewise, any the rock, hasa. That's what I mentioned earlier. It invalidates the wudu. Illal mani. This is an exceptional case. Except any from money. There are differences amongst the ulama with regard to money. In the Madhhab al-Imam Shāfiʿī, we regard money as pure. Al-mani, yani sperm. We regard any sperm as pure, and it does not invalidate the wudu. فَإِنَّهُ يُوجِبُ الْغُسْلَ وَلَا يَنْقُضُ الْوُضُوء. With regard any to sperm, what is wajib is that we have to bathe the obligatory bath, but it does not invalidate the wudu. Wallahu a'lam bis-sawab. So now we stop for the questions. Yeah. Huh? Oh, 8. Oh, okay. First question is asking if I'm traveling less than 2 marhala. Example, Singapore to JB. If I were to wipe Khuf in JB, am I eligible and into 72 hours? No, what is eligible and is 24 hours because this is only for Musafir to marhala. I think this is mentioned. Huh? It is, what do you call it? If you look, this is only any for 2 marhala. Now, so that is why if you return into your book, Umdatusaalik, he said, يجوز المسح على الخفين في الوضوء للمسافر سفرا مباحا تقصر فيه الصلاة 3 أيام. تقصر فيه الصلاة meaning more than two marhala. So you are given 3 days and 3 nights if it is more than 2 marhala. But JBNE is not even close and to 2 marhala. So you are given 24 hours just like the muqim. What is the exact distance for one musafir in kilometers? You said more than 85. In some Kitab says 77.7. In Fatwa Azhar says 81. Fatwa Jordan 80.64. Jazakumullah khair. So these are the differences amongst the ulama with regard to what is the distance, because you have to understand during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam they don't use kilometers. You don't find, for example, a hadith the Sahaba narrate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam does the qasar after he reached 86 kilometers. If there is such hadith like that, easy. We say khalas and we say 86 or 85 or 83. But last time they use a term that is called farsakh. And then the Sahaba does estimation. I travel with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then after a certain farsakh, I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he does the qasr. So from here we estimation. So differences amongst the ulama sometimes. What is the meaning of one farsakh? How far one farsakh? How far is 2 farsakh? Then we convert it into kilometers. MashaAllah, and we convert it into kilometers. So there are certain and slight differences. 3 kilometers differences, 4 kilometers differences. But what usually we do is to be safe. to be safe. If you reach 90 kilometers, yani khalas, and you are safe. Anything above 90, you can do any your qasar. Yani with peace. Anything any 90. 80 any to 90. 80 to 90, any we have differences any here and there. We can say any 86, we can 90. Darul Mustafa, for your information, the fatwa department in Darul Mustafa, mashallah, they made a very useful any research. Inshallah, maybe one day I try, one day any I will bring the thing. Because what they did was, they did exactly what during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They used bins to measure zira, yani how much any is one zira. Because from one any zira, we can determine how much any is farsakh. We can determine the distance in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So they use any bins. They use bins. So inshallah, I try to borrow from the library, and I bring it into class so that I can demonstrate. I can demonstrate it to you all. Yani how I need to understand, how to understand any this. And I believe any this is any the best measurement I need to determine the distance. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Which areas any of the private, especially invalidates any wudu and touch? Does backside and breast any include? No, private parts here, meaning with regard any to the male any private part, the penis. Not the testicles, the penis. And with regard any to the back part is the anus only, and the circular part of the anus. Anything beyond that is not any the private parts that invalidate any the wudu when you touch. So I hope any it is clear, inshallah. So this is any pertaining any to the male. Pertaining any to the female, it is the lips any of the vagina. Yani, if I can be specific, it is the lips any of the vagina. Other than that, any it does not yani invalidate any the wudu. The lips any of the vagina, if it is touched by the palms, palms here like this. Yani this part, not the back part, by the palms, and there is no barrier in between, meaning skin to skin, then yani the wudu becomes invalidated. With regard any to the back part, it is the anus, it is the circular part any of the anus, not anything beyond any than that. With regard any to the breast, no, breast any is not any the at all considered any to be the private parts any with regard to invalidity any of wudu. That is have to be touched by the palm area. I mentioned this already, of the hands or the back any of the hands and fingernails. No, not the fingernails. Any this is the part. And if you do this, the ones any that is touched, even the sides is not counted. And if a person touch a private part like this, does not invalidate any wudu. It must be the palms, any that you touch like this, the part any that is touched, that is any the thing that invalidates the wudu. Can we pick and choose what was easy for us when it comes to Jama prayers? Because someone told me that different Madhhab have different conditions and need to perform the Jama prayers. No, yani you cannot do it based on ignorance, because otherwise your prayers any will be invalid. You cannot any mix like that any without any knowledge, because there is a high chance it becomes invalid. So if you are a beginner, you have to study one particular Madhhab. Study any the Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī and practice the Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī. Khalas. But if you are not, if you are beginner and you pick here and there, what will be the result is that your ibadah, everything, and will be invalid at the end already. So who is any at loss? You will be any at loss, because Allah does not accept ibadah based on ignorance. And you remember that. Allah does not accept ibadah based on remembrance. Allah only accept ibadah based on what? Based on knowledge. So that is why yani, our scholars any mentioned an ignorant any person cannot reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani by ignorance, impossible. Impossible. Those any who reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those any who possess any knowledge. If I were to niyat about wudu, as I think my current wudu is still valid. However, after salat, I remember my first wudu has batal. Must I retake my wudu and salat any again? Your wudu any is valid. Your wudu any is considered to be valid as long as all the integrals any are present. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Regarding the conviction wimsdab situation, does this only apply to 50-50 situation? This does not only apply to 50-50 situation. It can also be applied to yaqeen and zon. Zon maybe 70%, 80%, 90%. So when you have 90% and 100%, which one is stronger? 100%. Which one is stronger? 100%. So yaqeen, nothing any beats any yaqeen. Nothing any beats yaqeen. If you see the moon, for example, and the hilal Ramadan, you yourself and you see any the moon. Then another person and he says that there is a possibility that Fulan and Ibn Fulan, that there is a possibility that the moon and is not being seen. Right? There is a possibility because nobody any seen except you, for example. But for you, it's based on yaqeen. Yani it is wajib any for you to fast. Correct or not? Despite any others, any is based on what? Other is based any on zon. Zon any maybe like 70%, 80%. So there is a difference between all the yaqeen and zon and shak. 50-50 is considered to be shak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi salam. Is a boot, shoes covering ankle considered khuf, or does it have to be light fitting like socks? Boot and shoes can be considered to be khuf as long as the conditions are there. Clear, inshallah. As what I mentioned, boots can be used as khuf, shoes can be used as khuf. Socks cannot. And it doesn't have to be tight fitting. I think the question asked about tight fitting. Does the boots any have to cover your feet and tightly? No. Even if it's loose. But what is important, it covers all the way up your ankle, above your ankle. That is wajib. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi salam. The way to mandi hadas is to wash your private parts first, then take wudu. There's no need to wash the full body. Of course, you need to wash your full body. Meaning you have to wash your private parts, take wudu, then wash the full body. This is the sequence. Washing the full body is wajib. Otherwise, your bathing is not valid. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi salam. Is there a scholarly opinion that allows palm reading for marriage? No, it is not any permissible. This is not any permissible. What's any the ruling on it? I have a friend whose potential buyer asked any for 3 pictures of his face, front and both sides, to check for compatibility, and do palm reading any as well. What I understand about palm reading any, this is knowledge we inherited any from some other tradition, some other any religion. It has any to do any a bit any with sorcery, and it is not any permissible. There is no basis any for it. You see, some people might be confused, but the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us need to look at the hands. When you want to get married to a girl, for example, it is a sunnah to look at the hands. You look at the hands any for what? Not whether this girl is compatible or not compatible any to you. When we look at the hands any of a woman, we can know whether this woman is fertile or not fertile. That is the idea of looking at the hands. Not any that this woman, mashallah, is going to be compatible any with me. Because of the shape any of the hands. This is not any day. The issue. The issue any is to know that this particular woman is fertile. So it is a sunnah to look at the face for beauty. Whether to know whether this woman that I'm going to marry is she beautiful? Am I going to be attracted any to her beauty? So it is a sunnah to look at the face. So normally there are people any out there, they use this to cheat. They use this any to cheat any money. To cheat any the money any of the people by doing so many of these things. Can women travel alone for the sake of seeking ilm? Or can she travel in a group any of women? What will be the conditions? How many women, age, distance? Jazakumullah khair. Can a woman any travel any alone? The basis any is that there is hadith in the Prophet ﷺ that it is not permissible any for a woman any to travel alone, except any for a mahram. But here we have to understand what is the reason why the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that it is not permissible for a woman to travel alone. What is the illah? It is for her safety. It is for her safety. Islam guards any the woman. So Islam any is saying that woman any who travels any alone, there is some dangers any to the safety. So it is not permissible any for her to travel alone, so that she becomes safe. So that is why it is permissible for her to travel if there is a group of women. Now if you have 10 women, 3 women, 4 women, 5 women, if there is any a safety, in a way that she can go from one place any to another place safely, then it is permissible. Yeah, our fuqaha in the Madhhab Imam Shāfiʿī says this is only applicable to Hajj. Yani if a woman wants to go to Hajj and she has no mahram, but there is a group any of women going any with her. And this group any of women any is such that when they travel any in the desert, or they travel last time they travel in the desert, the numbers any of women is considered to be any safe. Meaning if a person any wants any to harm any woman, when they see 10 women any, for example, they decide any, oh, this is too large any a group. So it depends any on the situation, it depends any on the travel. So today we also have to look at our situation. Today a woman any is traveling any, for example, taking flight, taking any the flight. So if she travel any with 3 women or 4 women, now any we ask any the question, is it considered to be, is it safe if she travel any from one city any to another city, yani with the plane? Normally any we say it is safe, and if you have any 3 4, that is any a safe situation. How many women age woman, this is depends any on the situation. As long as we say there is safety in a way that she cannot be harmed, then it is permissible. With regard any to age, we are speaking any about those who have reached puberty and not children. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. What is any the tertib any of the course? As you said, we'll be doing kalam next week. So the thing is, 1 week we will do aqidah, the rest any we will do fiqh. But sometimes any I change. It depends any on the situation. With regard into aqidah, maybe all the way until the end of Shaban, we will go through any of aqidah, inshallah. So what you see in the poster and is not something that is fixed. It's a bit inflexible. And what is any important any is that we get any the benefit, because I do not want any sometimes need to be mixed up any with fiqh and aqidah. So sometimes when I enter any aqidah, if I feel any that there is a need any to continue to a certain any chapter, then any we continue, and then the following week any we go into fiqh, or the following any we go back into ilmu kalam. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Does touching a female cousin from my father's side invalidates any the wudu? I was told that only from the mother's side will be invalidated. Your cousin any is not any your mahram. Yani man, if male and female, the opposite gender, whether it is from your mother's side or father's side. So your cousin any is not your mahram, meaning your wudu is invalidated. Your wudu invalidated, regardless whether from your mother's side or father's side. I was informed that the witr prayer is encouraged after one has completed the tahajjud prayer. Is it acceptable to omit the witr prayer and just perform the tahajjud prayer? Yes, it is permissible, and witr is sunnah. In the Madhhab Shāfiʿī, sunnah. If you do witr, you get reward. You don't do, you do not get the rewards. Allahu a'lam bis-sawab. ربنا تقبل دعانا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم واختم بالصالحات اعمالنا واجرنا الله يا كريم بفضل سبحان ربك بالعزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين تقبل الله منكم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Questions any which are not answered, inshallah we bring on to the next class because of time. جزاكم الله خير.